everybody. Welcome to Amazing You podcast and YouTube channels, the channels where stories of resilience, triumph, and unwavering hope come to life. In each episode, we dive into the inspiring journey of individuals who have faced the toughest challenges heads-on and emerged victorious. Our aim is to be a beacon of inspiration, offering a guiding light to those navigating through difficult times. Whether you today are dealing with a health challenge, professional setback, or personal struggles, this channel is dedicated to uplifting your spirit and showing you that even in the darkest moments, there's a path to hope and triumph. So join us to share powerful stories that transcend adversity, reminding you that resilience is a force within us all. Prepare to be inspired, everybody, and find the strength to navigate life challenges. So I am your host. My name is Dr. Rani. I am a clinical hypnotherapist using rapid transformational therapy method. I am a Mars-Venus life and relationship coach, breathwork coach, astrologer, tarot reader, past life regression practitioner, chakra practitioner, and life force compassion practitioner. And today, I have the immense pleasure to introduce you to a very special lady who has taken the time to be with all of us. Her name is Michelle Jewsbury. Michelle is from the United States. She is a dynamic force in transforming personal stories into powerful business narratives. She is the founder and CEO of Unsilenced Voices, and she has a mission to empower survivors of pain and trauma. And Michelle has emerged as an internationally recognized speaker, coach, and advocate. So welcome to Amazing You, Michelle.
Hey, thank you so much. Super excited to talk with you and talk with your audience. Overcoming adversity is very important, and we've all experienced adversity. So I'm excited to share my story with you.
Oh, thank you so much, Michelle. And could you share with the audience about your background and what has it led you to establish Unsilenced Voices, Michelle?
Yeah, no problem. So a little bit about me, I'll start from the beginning. I was born in a small town in the Northwest in the United States in Idaho called Sandpoint.
Okay.
And my daddy was in the military, so we moved around my whole life, moved to different states, lived in Hawaii for a little bit. My daddy worked in Samoa for a little bit as well. And when I graduated high school, I decided I wanted to move to Hollywood, California and become a movie star. So that's what I did. I packed my bags and drove to Hollywood, and I was there pursuing acting, and I loved it. Everything was going well. I was starring in plays and films. And then I ended up meeting somebody who I thought was going to be my Prince Charming.
Right.
And lo and behold, that turned out to be a very, very violent relationship. Wow. And I had never experienced domestic violence growing up. My parents were the love story of our town. Mm-hmm. So I was unaware of the problems, unaware of the red flags and the signs. And I ended up staying with my abuser for over 4 years. And during that time, experiencing all forms of domestic violence.
That must have been a shock for you, Michelle.
It was very much
such
of
a
relationship
shock. To be in an abusive relationship. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, of course, if anybody experiences adversity, trauma, it is very shocking, right? So for me, when I didn't understand it, I ended up escaping, and then I started to document my story. And when I started to document it, I read it back and I was like, wow, how is this me that I'm reading about? And that's when I decided to take more action, Rani. That's when I said, okay, I need to do something even more with my story, because my experiences do not define who I am. I have a choice and I get to define those experiences.
And how long? Thank you, Michelle. And how long did you stay in that abusive relationship?
4 years, roughly.
Right. And
Mm-hmm.
how did you manage to get out of it? Because when you are in an abusive relationship, the person can be very manipulative, and it can be a big, because they watch your every move. So how did you manage to get out of this?
Well, safety planning is very, very important. So if somebody in the audience that's listening to this now is experiencing
Mm-hmm.
any form of domestic violence or trauma or abuse, you have to plan accordingly, plan to make sure that you are safe. So I used to hide money in my boots. I used to carry credit cards with me in my boots. I used to wear a lot of boots back then, and he never wanted me to carry my own purse. He wanted to take full control over everything that I did all the time. So that was my way of having a security system if he were to abuse me in public or hurt me and I couldn't get away. I didn't have any financial means. So I would always have that. But then I started to plan out my escape. And I ended up leaving, 6, 7, 8 different times before finally leaving. And that's normal in a domestic violence relationship. But, when he went to work, I would just plan out my schedule and my escape based on when he was due to be at work or
Yeah,
on a work trip, things like that. And I didn't tell people what I was doing because I didn't want it to get back to him. So when I
absolutely. Yeah.
finally escaped and actually stayed away, I ended up driving back to Los Angeles because he had isolated me a little further north. And I ended up staying in Los Angeles, and he ended up assaulting another woman. And then I was involved in a lawsuit for 4 or 5 years with him. So,
That was a
yeah.
long journey for you to, for you to free yourself from that situation. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, a long journey. However, it was worth it, because
Yes,
God is able to turn broken pieces into beautiful things. And
absolutely.
He uses all of our stories. And no matter what it is that we've experienced, He can use our story and make something even better.
Yes, because now you are helping people, communities around the world. And that's so
Yeah.
beautiful, because so many people, so many women or individuals are in those kind of situations right now as we are speaking, and they have been in such kind of domestic abusive situation, but they are scared, and or
Mhm.
they don't know how to get out of it. So I think it's very important that you are talking about it and sharing your journey, your stories. And I would like to ask you another question. It's, what has this experience taught you about yourself, Michelle?
So, a lot of people are unaware that we stay for reasons that are childhood traumas
Yes.
or insecurities or imposter syndrome, whatever that looks like. But when I stayed with my abuser, I had to look internally while I did intensive therapy
Right.
and determined why I ended up staying, why I allowed the abuse to continue. Now, it wasn't my fault by any means, but I
Yes.
stayed. And the reason I did was because I believed that he would change, of course. When you're in an abusive situation, the victim 100% believes things will
Yes.
change because he or she says that they will.
Yeah.
But I so badly desired love. I so badly wanted love. I call myself not a hopeless romantic, but a romantic. And I so wanted that love story that my mom and dad had. And then there was some childhood trauma that I had experienced growing up where that led me to not believing that I was good enough. So I had to work through a lot of this in therapy. And
Yeah.
if you are out there, if you're experiencing abuse, remember, it's not your fault. You have a choice, though. So when you leave, I encourage you, work on yourself, whether that is traditional or non-traditional modalities. I personally love writing therapy and
Okay.
speech therapy. So
Right.
being able to express yourself, because you can only heal if you feel through the pain. And
Ab-
that's the hardest part. And that's where you need some guidance and assistance.
yes. Thank you so much for sharing that, Michelle, because when we look within ourselves, that's when we can heal all these childhood wounds and all these traumas and emerge instead of living in that wounded state. You come out being whole again. And doing those therapies have helped you to come out moving from trauma to wholeness, being whole, a whole individual with all her abilities. I'm sure you would have discovered new talents and gifts that you never thought you had doing therapies.
Well, I mean, going through that experience and then, going to counselors and then understanding, oh, well, I can actually use my story to make a difference. So then starting Unsilenced Voices, working in multiple countries around the globe, speaking now on stages. I get to coach and mentor people. So I get to use my experiences to then transform other people's lives. And I never thought, 8 years ago that I would be an international speaker and traveling all over the world sharing light, because it's not about me, but it's about what you as an audience, what you as a person can do with your story. So being able to tell that story, help other people, publish books, speak on stages. So it's pretty impressive. It's pretty awesome what God does.
It is amazing what God does, how God helps us to turn our wounds into success, into helping others, which is beautiful, because as we go within, we find out our treasures. That's what I always tell the audience. Whatever you are seeking on the outside, it's inside you. So all the treasures that you are seeking, they are within you, but it's just you taking the time to go within, because we take so much time on the external things of life, on focusing on everything, on everybody, but we forget ourselves, our inner voices, and we don't listen to that, because that's where the treasures are, in our heart.
Yeah. The number one person in your life is you.
Absolutely.
And we are our own worst critic.
Yes.
And we self-sabotage.
Yeah.
And we don't believe in ourselves, and we do self-negative talk. And when we transform that and change that and start to understand that we are the number one most important thing in our life, because we are the center point in that circle, then we can really focus on healing from within, and what we seek is within us. I like how you said that. So yes, wonderful, beautiful.
Yes, I have a quote, the quote that I designed, which is, the treasure that you are seeking is within you. Mm-hmm. Because that's what I discovered from healing myself. When I started to go within, wow, I'm just like you. I found out I had so many talents. I never could, though I teach, yes, but I could never speak more than that, other than my classes. But now I am doing podcasts. I am talking on other shows. It's like I have written book chapters. I deliver sessions for clients. I would never have done that have I sat with my pain, and done nothing. So it's just amazing how we transform our lives, and so that the audience remember that you are the masters of your destiny. You can transform your life with God's presence in you, within you, and achieve everything that you want. So you are the manifester. You are the writer of your story.
Yeah. And at first looks like you closing your eyes and envisioning what your life can be like, envisioning the dreams and desires that you have, whether that is traveling the world or being able to pay for your kids' college education, or fly first class versus coach, or, social impact is the currency of the future. So giving back, what that looks like, either helping a nonprofit or starting a nonprofit, but really giving back and choosing change. Because when we close our eyes and when we dream, when we create dream boards, when we write, when we envision, those things can be manifested by our desires and our wants. And when we do that, then we will start to attract those things into our lives, and our lives will completely change. I mean, 8 years ago, I was a bartender pouring Jack and Cokes for people. And now I get to travel the world. It's really amazing. And if I can do it, you can do it too.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. That is beautiful, Michelle. And what do you think, Michelle, are the key elements that make a personal story impactful in a business context?
Yeah. So authenticity
Mm,
is probably the most important facet of starting a business and speaking on stages. I've
okay.
been able to share stages with a lot of people, and a lot of those individuals, unfortunately, say one thing behind the curtain and say something different in front of the curtain. And
Right.
I think that we need to change that narrative. I think
Yes.
that in order to gain trust from your audience, you have to be
Mm,
honest and transparent. You
yes.
have to have authenticity,
Yeah.
but you really have to be true to who you are. So
Yes.
when you're able to express yourself and able to tell other people your adversities,
Yes.
then you can then translate that into a business narrative, being able to monetize that story. So whether that is publishing books or coaching or speaking on stage, or whether you run a 600 person C-suite level company, you
Mm,
then know how to talk with your employees.
yeah.
50% of entrepreneurs deal with a mental health condition. 1 in 3 women worldwide experience domestic violence.
Mm,
There's men in the US and men worldwide who experience all kinds of traumas and abuse. We don't even talk about childhood sexual exploitation. So when you're able to be transparent about your adversities, then your clients, your employees will trust you. They will like you. They will stay on board with you. They will actually work harder for your company. And that is how you can translate your personal narratives into business success. And we've been able to help so many people do that. And I think that when more people are honest with themselves and with the people around them, then we can help change the trajectory of some of these negative injustices and dynamics worldwide.
wow, that is so true. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. And you were talking about the unsilenced voices that the the voluntary charity that you run, that you are the founder.
Mhm.
And can you tell us what more about it and what are some long-term goals that you have and how do you plan to achieve them?
Yeah, that sounds good. So in 2017, I founded Unsilenced Voices. Had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have a background in nonprofit or business. So
Okay.
I literally started from the ground up. And I had a huge calling to go to Africa. So the first country that we actually went to was Ghana. And we then had a partner organization called the ARC Foundation and just started to explore what it was that we could do to help. And then I had a lot of connections in Sierra Leone. So that's where the bulk of our programming still happens.
Wow.
So we help 2 villages, a lot about financial literacy, overcoming trauma,
Okay.
speaking the narrative, right? Talking about how it's not okay to beat your wives, it's not okay to abuse these children. It's
Mhm.
education, right? So we teach a lot of education, but we also do a lot of hands-on training. So we
Okay.
help young girls who have been through abuse, a lot of domestic violence, a lot of young girls who have been trafficked to the country go
Mm,
through now vocational training so then they can learn to sell the materials that they make with their hands versus selling their bodies for $2.
mm,
It's really, really scary what happens out there. But we are transforming lives, and we have hundreds of girls that we've been able to help. We work with the brothels and the sex workers over in Sierra Leone.
okay.
We actually just filmed a TV show with the Fixers. They're on BYU, and we built a cassava processing plant for one of the villages in Tobu that we support. And a lot of that was because of financial stability.
Mm,
Because when there is financial stability, there are less arguments, less opportunities for
yes.
abuse to happen.
Yeah.
So we also have savings box programs. There's a lot that we do in Sierra Leone. In 2022, we did a 4-city tour in the United States and gifted
Okay.
$33,000 to USA survivors
Mm,
that they could use for transportation, relocation, housing issues, childcare needs.
okay.
So we do a lot through education. We published a curriculum called Graced for Prosperity, being able to educate how you can escape your situation, but then talking a lot about financial literacy because many, many people stay because of finances. So
Yes.
when you're able to escape and then teach about financial literacy,
Mm,
then things start to change.
yes.
And when they shift, then then you see this very powerful person in front of you now. And that very powerful person is no longer a victim, but a victor. And it's just been wonderful to see the transformation with thousands of individuals. And our next goal in Sierra Leone, what we want to do is build a school with a housing component.
Okay.
And then in the Tampa area, be able to have a day center with wraparound services and emergency housing. So we're, headed towards that direction now. It's just one foot in front of the other, and we just keep going, right? So, we've hit the 6 figure. Now we're working on the 7 and being able to impact even more people.
Wow, that is extraordinary, the work that you are doing, and that's really beautiful. And you are really empowering individuals to stand up for themselves and to be in control of their lives. Instead of being the victim, they are the victor, and they have the control of how they want to live their lives. I think that's very, very beautiful, by providing them with education, with information, and all the great things. Thank you so much.
I mean, I was just going to talk then about how that can translate into even having a for-profit. So I run 2 businesses. One is the nonprofit, that's my social impact, and one is the for-profit. And with our for-profit, we work with the same type of clientele, but they're in a space where they're ready to tell their stories. Right. So we have, a book that we just published volume 1. We're publishing volume 2 by the end of the year, called Breaking the Silence: Voices of Survivors, where we have trauma survivors telling their story in a chapter. We teach what's called Legacy Camp, that we help you translate your narrative into business success. So whether that is starting a nonprofit, or speaking on stages, or writing your own book, or starting a for-profit business, creating courses and content, creating something from your adversity is really what that stands for. And that's what I truly, truly enjoy teaching, because Legacy Camp can help so many people transform that narrative. And when you can transform that narrative, then we can change the world.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. And Michelle, what would you like to say today to tell people who are watching and listening and who are facing some tough times, whether it's finance, whether it's emotional relationships, personal work? What would you like to tell them today?
Yeah, Rani. So I get interviewed on a lot of podcasts, and I typically end the podcast the same way. So I'm going to do it with this as well. So there's a movie out there called Finding Nemo. Have you watched that movie, Finding Nemo?
Yes, I have.
So in that movie, there's a fish. Her name is Dory, and she swims around and she gets lost all the time, right? Her character is played by Ellen DeGeneres, and she swims around and she says, "Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming." So if you are out there and if you're experiencing adversity, if you're experiencing pain, trauma, I want you to just keep swimming, because you can overcome as long as you keep going. There is no giving up. Life is difficult for everyone. We all have experienced trauma, but it's up to us to say no to things, yes to some things, and it's up to us to make those changes. So just keep swimming. You can overcome. So,
wow, that is beautiful. Just keep swimming, because as you keep moving, there will be a door and doors will open. You will see the light. So that's really, really true, because people tend to give up in the middle. So it's like, just keep moving, just keep going forward. The light.
So one of my good friends, his name is Greg Reed, and he wrote a book, 3 Feet from Gold. And it was really interesting because it's about the story of this gentleman who started digging for gold. He bought this property, started digging, but he couldn't find gold. Right. And he was digging down. He just kept digging deeper and deeper and deeper. And then he's like, screw it, I'm just going to sell this company. I'm going to sell this property. So this other gentleman bought it, and he moved 3 feet over the other direction and dug down, and he found gold.
Wow.
So sometimes it's not digging deeper, right? It's moving, it's changing our direction. And then you start digging there.
Yeah, that's so true. It's looking around, not in one place, but keeping your options open and being open to new things, to things that come. Absolutely.
Thinking outside the box.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And my last question to you, Michelle, is how can people reach out to you?
Yeah, definitely. So there's a couple of different options. If you are in the United States, there's a text that you can do. You can text legacy to 26786. Again, text legacy to 26786. You'll be able to get a hold of us that way. You can also visit michellejewsbury.com. Again, Michelle Jewsbury, JEWSBURY.com. You can book a time with me there. You can download free gifts and complimentary PDFs to help you overcome challenges, get resources, find out information about Unsilenced Voices. So there's a couple of different ways there.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time, Michelle. And I wish you a wonderful trip, that you are traveling soon. And I wish you a lot of success in everything that you do with Unsilenced Voices, and that you keep on doing great things and touch many, many more lives with the job that you are doing. Thank you so much. And big thank you to everybody for listening, for watching, and for sharing. And I will see you all very soon, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.